Listen closely, ladies, because this message is not sweet fluff. It is sharp, honest, and necessary. The only men who get upset when you set boundaries are usually the men who wanted you to have none. Why? Because when you have no boundaries, they get easy access. Easy attention, easy comfort, easy benefits, easy control. They get to take from you while calling it chemistry, casual fun, or seeing where it goes. No, call it what it is: extraction. If a man gets irritated the moment you become clear about what you need, what you expect, and what you will no longer accept, he is not reacting to your attitude. He is reacting to losing access. Your boundary is not the issue. His loss of convenience is. A man who truly values you does not panic when he sees your standards. He may ask questions. He may need a conversation. He may not agree with every detail, but he respects that you respect yourself. He does not act like your limits are a personal attack. He does not call you dramatic because you refuse crumbs. He does not test how little effort he can give and still keep you around. A real man is not trying to get full access to your heart on a discount plan. He respects what matters to you because he respects you. But watch what happens when you stop overgiving. Watch what happens when you stop laughing off disrespect. Watch what happens when you stop making excuses for poor communication, mixed signals, shady online behavior, empty words, and lazy effort. Suddenly, some men pull away. Suddenly, some men get cold. Suddenly, some men say you changed. You stopped making your pain convenient for someone else. That is why the difference between a woman who is respected and a woman who keeps getting tested is often not beauty, luck, age, or magic. It is her boundaries. Because feminine energy without boundaries is not power. It is exposure. It is softness with no shelter. It is warmth with no lock on the door. It is love without discernment. Feminine energy can be beautiful, magnetic, and tender, but without boundaries, it becomes an open invitation for the wrong people to sample your heart without ever earning a place in your life. Now hear me clearly. Boundaries are not bitterness. They are not coldness. They are not punishment. Boundaries are loving limits with a backbone. They are calm standards with consequence. They are the energy that says, I know who I am, and I know what does not belong near me. Once you learn how to hold that energy, everything changes. The conversations change, the dating choices change, the way men approach you changes, the way you respond changes, and most importantly, the way you feel about yourself changes. If you are tired of wasting time on weak connections, if you are tired of calling red flags potential, if you are tired of shrinking your needs just to keep a maybe around, then stay with me. And yes, if this message hits you hard and you know you are ready for more, you can join me in my free live masterclass. Just comment the word masterclass below and I will send you the link. But first, let's go deeper. Number 1, you do not translate yourself. Ladies, please stop turning basic emotional intelligence into a lesson for a grown man. Stop explaining human decency like it is a difficult concept. Stop softening your pain so much that he never has to feel the weight of it. If he is old enough to date, then he is old enough to know what respect looks like. If he is old enough to pursue intimacy, then he is old enough to understand how his actions affect the woman he claims to care about. You do not need to teach a grown man why loyalty matters online and offline. You do not need to explain why flirting in comments, entertaining women for attention, or acting single in public while talking to you in private is disrespectful. You do not need to walk him through why disappearing, breadcrumbing, and hot and cold behavior create instability. A mature man already knows. A man with integrity already lives that way. He does not need your emotional labor to drag him toward the bare minimum. Think about that. My partner should not need to explain to me why certain behavior would hurt her. I know better because I care better. I know that some actions create distance, insecurity, and disrespect, so I do not do them. Not because I am forced, but because consideration is part of love. So when a man acts clueless about basic respect, stop calling it confusion. Very often it is comfort. He is comfortable stretching your standards to see how much nonsense you will normalize. That is why trying to convince a man to act right is such a trap. The minute you start campaigning for your own dignity, the energy is already wrong. You do not teach values, You recognize alignment. You do not audition for decent treatment. You observe whether it is already there. You are not his dating coach. You are not his therapist. You are not his rehab center for inconsistency. Your job is not to rescue his potential. Your job is to honor your reality. And let me make this plain. The moment you start over-explaining a boundary to a man who benefits from crossing it, you are no longer protecting your heart. You are managing his comfort while your own self-respect bleeds in the corner. That is not romance. That is damage control dressed up in polite language. The right man does not need your pain translated into tiny, gentle words before he takes it seriously. I had a client show me a message she sent to a man. It said something like, "I get it, but I just wanted to say it kind of hurt me that you liked that girl's photos and left those comments. I know you probably did not mean anything by it, and I am not trying to control you, but I wish you would have been more mindful." Sweet? Sure. Honest? Maybe. Effective? Not really. Why? Because she wrapped her boundary in so much apology and softness that the point got lost. So I asked her one question, and I want you to hear it too. Why are you protecting his feelings harder than you are protecting your own self-worth? That is the real problem. It is not that she spoke up. It is that she diluted her truth so much that he had no reason to feel the impact. Some of you are delivering boundaries like customer service complaints, polite, nervous, full of disclaimers, and secretly hoping he will reward you for being easy to dismiss. No. If something is not okay, then it is not okay. Your truth does not need glitter around it. It needs clarity. It needs steadiness. It needs self-belief. Number 2, you do not overshare just to feel chosen. Emotional openness is beautiful when it is mutual. Vulnerability can deepen a connection when it is met with care, presence, consistency, and responsibility. But when that care is missing, what many women call openness is actually overexposure. And overexposure does not create closeness. It creates a one-sided emotional spill that leaves you feeling raw and weirdly alone afterward. A lot of women confuse talking a lot with being truly seen. So they keep sharing and sharing, hoping the man in front of them will finally understand them, validate them, soften toward them, or feel close enough to commit. They tell him about old wounds, exes, trust issues, fears, dreams, family pain, and every scar on their heart. Not because the moment is safe, but because the anxiety is loud. And anxiety has a sneaky way of dressing itself up like intimacy. You think, if I just show him the real me fast enough, surely he will feel close to me. But closeness does not come from quick confession. It comes from safe reciprocity. It comes from emotional steadiness. It comes from being with someone who can hold your truth without turning it into entertainment, leverage, or temporary excitement. Sometimes women overshare because silence feels scary. Sometimes they do it because they want to prove they are honest, deep, and real. Sometimes they do it because they sense distance and start performing vulnerability to close the gap. But listen carefully. A bond built through performance will always feel shaky. If you are revealing your soul because you are trying to earn closeness instead of responding to real closeness, the connection is already off balance. And yes, some men ask deep questions. Some men know exactly what to say. They know how to lean in, hold eye contact, use a warm tone, and ask about your past, your pain, and your fears. But do not confuse curiosity with capacity. Some men ask deep questions because they are entertained. Some ask because they want emotional access before they have earned emotional responsibility. Some ask because they know that fast intensity can create a fake sense of closeness. So please remember this. Just because someone asks the right question does not mean he has earned the full answer. Just because he creates a deep moment does not mean he can sustain a deep relationship. Just because he says, "You can tell me anything," does not mean your nervous system actually feels safe. Stop handing over your whole story to every man who knows how to sound interested for 20 minutes. You do not need to prove that you are genuine by bleeding all over the table. You do not need to dump your whole history to show that you are authentic. Real connection is not measured by how much you reveal in one sitting. It is measured by how safe, respected, and grounded you feel while revealing yourself over time. If he is not present, if he is not consistent, if he is not making space for your truth with care, then you are not being deeply heard. You are just being tolerated until the vibe changes. Number 3, you do not adjust your boundaries to keep someone. Let me say that louder. If you have to shrink your standards so he can stay, then what you are keeping is not a healthy connection. You are keeping access to disappointment. The second you water down a boundary just to seem chill, nice, understanding, low maintenance, or different, it stops being a boundary. It becomes a blurry suggestion. And blurry suggestions are easy to ignore. A real boundary is not a decorative sentence. It is not a cute quote you post online and betray in private. A real boundary has weight. It has structure. It has consequence. Imagine it like a wall, not to shut love out, but to make respect visible. When a man crosses a real boundary, he should not be met with endless softness, endless explanations, and endless second chances. He should meet reality. He should feel the impact of something solid enough to make him stop and rethink how he is showing up. Now let's clear up something important. A boundary is not about controlling him. You are not saying, become this person or else. You are not trying to force his character into a shape that makes you feel safe. A boundary is about you. It says, this is what I welcome. This is what I do not welcome. This is how I protect my peace. This is what I will do if this line gets crossed. That is not manipulation. That is self-protection. And of course, some men will hate that. Some will call you dramatic, rigid, emotional, too serious, too picky, too sensitive, or too much. But often that is not because your standard is unfair. It is because your standard interrupts a lazy dating pattern where they get all the perks and almost none of the responsibility. Your clarity makes them uncomfortable. Good. Discomfort is often where truth shows up. When a man is irritated by your self-respect, he is telling on himself. Too many women lower the bar because they are afraid that if they do not, he will leave. So they become more flexible, more patient, more available, more forgiving, more silent, more cool, more disconnected from their own pain. And maybe, yes, sometimes he stays a little longer. But he stays longer inside a version of the relationship that costs you your center. He stays while you twist yourself into somebody easier to mishandle. And then what happens? He often leaves anyway. Or he stays while giving you a watered-down version of love that keeps you hungry. Now you are left with 2 wounds instead of 1. You have heartbreak and you have self-abandonment. That second wound cuts deep because you know you saw the truth and betrayed yourself just to buy more time. Lowering the bar does not prevent pain. It just delays the ending while deepening the damage. Please remember that while you are studying him, he is studying you too. He watches what you accept after you say something matters. He notices whether your actions match your words. He notices whether your no can be bent with charm, silence, distance, gifts, apologies, or a little hot and cold attention. So when you speak your boundary, back it up. If your words say one thing and your behavior says another, the lesson he learns is that your standard is negotiable. Number 4, you set the emotional tempo. Let's talk about speed, because speed fools a lot of people. Have you ever met a man who came in hot? He is planning dates quickly, texting all day, calling every night, talking about how different you are, hinting at a future by week 2, acting as if he has known you for years when he has barely known you for days. It can feel exciting. It can feel flattering. It can feel like finally somebody sees your value and is not afraid to show it. But fast does not always mean real. Sometimes fast means impulsive. Sometimes fast means emotionally reckless. Sometimes fast means love bombing. Sometimes fast means he is addicted to the rush, not committed to the reality. And here is where many women get pulled into the storm. They match his pace because they do not want to lose momentum. They start texting more, revealing more, investing more, fantasizing more, expecting more, attaching more, all because the intensity feels promising. But once you start building the connection around his speed instead of your grounded pace, you lose your center. Your body knows it before your mind admits it. You start feeling anxious, restless, over-focused, and unsure. It feels like standing on moving ground. This is why it is powerful to slow things down. Slowing down is not a game. It is not playing hard to get. It is not emotional withholding. It is discernment. It is saying, I am not going to let momentum make decisions my wisdom has not approved. It is choosing to stay awake instead of getting swept into fantasy. Because fantasy is loud, fantasy is glittery. Fantasy says, this feels amazing, so do not question it. But reality whispers, pay attention, notice the pattern, see whether this pace can actually last. When you set the emotional tempo, you make room for truth. You get to see how he responds when there is patience, not just passion. You get to see whether his interest has depth or just volume. You get to see whether he can build slowly, listen carefully, and show up consistently after the honeymoon sparkle fades. A man who is serious is not scared by steadiness. A man who only wanted the thrill often gets bored the second access is no longer instant. So yes, a feminine boundary in this situation might sound like, I am really enjoying getting to know you, and I want to take this slowly so we can build something real. Calm, clear, warm, firm. No drama, no apology, no performance, just self-trust. Because your job is not to feed his fantasy. Your job is to protect your peace while discovering whether this connection can carry real weight. Number 5, you do not perform strength. This one is huge, so be honest with yourself. How many times have you told yourself that being strong means staying quiet? How many times have you confused being independent with being emotionally unavailable to your own needs? How many times have you swallowed your questions, buried your hurt, muted your reactions, and called it maturity? How many times have you smiled and said, it's fine, while something inside you twisted? A lot of women have been taught that power looks like never reacting, never needing, never asking, never caring too much, never showing tenderness, never admitting disappointment. So they perform this cool, untouchable version of themselves. They notice the shift in his texts, his tone, his effort, his energy, his consistency. They feel the disconnection. But instead of addressing it, they try to seem unbothered. They think if they act like they care less, he will lean in more. They think if they stay easy, silent, and chill, he will respect them more. But pretending you are okay does not build respect. It builds distance. It teaches people how disconnected from yourself you are willing to become just to look strong. You cannot build deep intimacy while hiding half your emotional truth. You cannot be fully loved while constantly editing yourself to seem easier to handle. If you keep choosing to be easy to love instead of fully seen, you will keep attracting people who love the polished image of you, but cannot meet the real woman underneath. Real strength is not acting numb. Real strength is not fake indifference. Real strength is not smiling through things that are eating at your spirit. Real strength is saying, that did not sit right with me. Real strength is naming what you feel without collapsing into it. Real strength is speaking with honesty, even when a part of you wants to stay quiet just to keep the peace. Real strength is not about being hard. It is about being whole. You do not need to perform independence to prove your worth. You do not need to act like nothing touches you. You do not need to downplay your care, mute your needs, or apologize for your depth. You are allowed to care. You are allowed to feel. You are allowed to ask. You are allowed to speak plainly. You are allowed to be soft and solid at the same time. In fact, that combination is powerful. A woman who can love deeply and still hold the line is not difficult. She is deadly to games because she is not at war with her own truth. So let me leave you with this. Stop thinking boundaries ruin good connections. Boundaries reveal them. Stop thinking clarity scares away the right man. It filters out the wrong one. Stop thinking being loving means being endlessly flexible. Love without self-respect becomes self-erasure. Stop thinking you have to prove your value by over-explaining, over-giving, over-sharing, over-accommodating, and over-performing. You do not become more lovable by abandoning yourself. You just become easier to misuse. The woman who is respected is not always the loudest woman in the room. She is not always the coldest. She is not always the prettiest. She is the woman whose energy says, with or without words, I know what I bring, I know what I deserve, and I will not bargain against my own peace to keep temporary attention. That energy changes everything. It changes what you entertain, It changes what you excuse. It changes what you attract. If this spoke to you, if you felt seen, challenged, or called out in the exact way you needed, then do not stop here. I created a free live masterclass for you that goes even deeper into how women lose power in dating, how to shift your energy without becoming cold, how to understand male behavior with more clarity, and how to build a relationship that is not just exciting in the beginning, but healthy over time. If you want the link, just comment the word masterclass below and I will send it to you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. And please remember this with your whole heart. If you want your relationships to change, you have to change what you tolerate, what you normalize, what you excuse, and what you keep calling love when it is really just fear of letting go. Your standards are not too much. Your voice is not too much. Your feelings are not too much. The wrong place will always make your truth feel heavy. The right place will know how to hold it. Choose yourself first and watch how the whole game starts shifting.